Hi everyone, this is the Week 5 recap. I'm outside right now in the patio, and I don't know why the light's not working, so I'm chilling outside. Everyone be wary, there may be some dogs barking in a little bit. But anyways, let's go quickly into this because we have a lot of good stuff, and we are opening with the power rankings right after this. Anyways, I beat Paul Ernster this week after multiple point adjustments, which changed the leader of the game. I finally ended up the winner with a 105.2 points versus 104.3. Christian Ponder had a solid game with 20.3 points for myself. And for Paul, while he did have Marcus Colston receiving 32.9 points, he also had D'Angelo Williams, which gave him a negative 1.4 points. So I personally feel I'm pretty happy that I had the win, but I am ecstatic and even grateful for our football gods for knowing that not only did I not really win that game, Paul really lost that game. He really thought that D'Angelo Williams was going to be able to give him any points, but alas, the football gods really knew what was up, and they said, hell no, and gave him negative points. Thank you again, football gods, and may everything be as holy as you wish them to be. Paul, I hope you understand that your logic is faulty, bro. I mean, if you really thought that he was going to give you positive points, then I'm really sorry about that. Anyways, the Carolina woes was more apparent also in the Lion Ashton game, with Ashton winning 92.4 to 87.9. Lyon had Cam Newton, who only received 6.8 points, while Ashton rode both of his running backs, Jamal Charles and Frank Gore, and they both gave him 16.5 points apiece. This was a rough game for Cam Newton, and it's looking like he's not getting the Superman love that Lyon is hoping for. Hopefully it works out in the future, but right now it just looks like one, Carolina doesn't know how to fucking run anymore, and two, Cam Newton is just being a little more aggressive in his passing, and it's just looking a little sloppy. Also, let's not forget the fact that his tight end is not getting as open as he used to last year. Anyways, so I really don't think John or Remnick really give a fuck this week because they both received shame points for playing people on buys. John actually called and texted me at like 11 o'clock that day, asking me if he could still change up his lineup, and he didn't. And I told him yes, and I sent him his text backs. Anyways, John successfully but very slimly won this game 88 to 86.4. Drew Brees not only received consecutive games with the touchdown record, but also gave Vogelsong a healthy 31.2 points. Trent Richardson, one of his running backs, a rookie, gave him a healthy 19.8 points. Random and pretty interesting stat. There's only been 5 rookie running backs that have been in the top 10 overall fantasy players by the end of the year since 2005. John, if he's able to be a top 10 by the end of this year, I will be very impressed that you were able to be willing to gamble on getting a rookie running back and him actually working out. Hopefully that works out for you, unless you're playing against me. Another couple of games, Karan got wrecked by Stefan, 119.9 to 91 points. This was honestly a no contest because Andre Brown became the secondary running back, and that was Karan's second running back. Andre Brown is no longer the starting running back for the Giants, and he also got a concussion, so he got very few points. Even though Karan also had Reggie Wayne giving him 29.8 points, the ineptitude of Andre Johnson for him with a 1.7 points made this a no contest. On the other hand, Stefan had all of his people clicking except for RG3 because he got knocked the fuck out. And he had Ahmad Bradshaw, who gave him 27.7 points. Stefan, I think if you can keep on having your team roll like that and having a better game out of RG3, you have a really good shot of winning a lot of games at the end of this. Elias didn't cover the spread, unfortunately, and he only won 129.3 to 61.6 over Herman. I guess you're going to have to live with that 66-point win, Elias. I'm really sorry about that. Anyways, I got to give a lot of props for Elias for picking up Percy Harvin kind of late in the rounds of our draft, who has been ridiculous the past few games, and for lucking out for having Rashard Mendenhall, who had yet to receive a rush or any amount of gains at all this entire year and then making 16.7 points against the Eagles. Again, he did not have a single rush before the Eagles game, and he just came out and fucking was awesome. Herm's team is looking a little lost, not gonna lie, with Arian Hernandez currently out and now questionable for this week, and CJ2K just not being showing up anywhere. Also, Steve Johnson is just not a number one wide receiver, and Fitzpatrick is just not a real quarterback in the NFL. With that said, I hope that you can get some good things happening on your end, Herm, and because it's starting to look a little rough. Ashwin played Kashit this week and lost because Kashit somehow gets really good defenses to play really well when he needs them to. This is the second week that he's won pretty much based off of his defense. Alright, Kashit played Matt Hasselbeck, and his running backs Ray Rice and Fred Jackson were both very pedestrian, but the Bears defense gave him 28 points. That's ridiculous, and it made him win the game. I'm sorry, Ashwin. I know you had a really rough week regardless with your 71 points, I believe, but Kashit just got really lucky. So, now the standings. It looks like the East Division is probably our closest, with Paul and Ashton tied at 3-2 and myself behind at 2-3. This is probably going to be the division that is most likely to have a wild card come out of it, not including the leader of this. In the West, Vogelsong is dominating with a 5-0 record, and Lion behind him with a 2-3, and Ramneek with an 0-5. Good job, everyone, so far from not letting him win a game. Let's make sure that it keeps on going. In the South, Elias looks to be dominating with a 5-0 record, but Stefan is at 2-3 and Karan is at 1-4. I think both of those guys have chances to start winning some games, so this could be a very competitive division by the end of it. But as of right now, it looks like Elias is just going to take away and will at least have the leader spot in that division. In the North, Kashit seems to be winning this outright, and this is probably due to the fact that Ashwin is just having some difficulties at running back, and Herm just needs some love from Chris Johnson. That being said, we are now embarking to our power rankings. Now that we are now halfway through the season, I'm going to give you the top 5 teams for this year, and it will be changing over the next few weeks and kind of turning out. Anyways, at number 5, I have Paul Ernster. This is all based on All Day Peterson being amazing and all day, which has definitely illustrated his luck and quality at the running back position. I don't like any of your other players, but your running backs are so good that you'll probably be able to win games just off of that. At number 4, however, I think Ashton is better than you and will probably be the leader of the division if I don't come back and wreck some shit. He's got older and more successful running backs in both Jamal Charles and Frank Gore, but his consistent top 5 Aaron Rodgers is going to help him win any game. While he does have question marks at the wide receivers, I think Rodgers and those running backs will be able to be tremendous and give him a lot of points and maybe make his wide receivers very unnecessary in a lot of games. At number 3, and this is probably going to annoy some, especially you, I would say John, and let me explain why. Even though he has an undefeated season, I will say that he is successful so far, but if he has one injury at the running back, tight end, or wide receiver position, I think he's going to have a lot of problems. Just because he's very thin at wide receiver and running back, and he's already playing both of his tight ends at the time being, who are both good, don't get me wrong. Another thing I want to note is the total amount of points that he has allowed, which means that the opponent's score, the total amount of his opponent's score is 371.2, which is the least of any team in this league by 60 points. That's a huge curve, and so I guess while it looks like he's blowing out a lot of teams, I think it's just teams that are not doing as well as they should be doing during those weeks. No offense to you, John, but I really think that there's going to be some good stuff coming out soon. Anyways, at number 2, I believe it's Kashit while I believe he does have terrible quarterbacks in Kevin Kolb and Josh Freeman, I believe, Ray Rice gets better and better as the season goes, as evident in his past 2 seasons, where his fantasy points come from an average of 12 to 15 to about 25 by the end of the season. Another thing is, I think even though Julio Jones is pretty inconsistent, you can get studly games out of him. And you have Jimmy Graham, who, yeah, he has an injury, but he's a great tight end who's going to get better and better in that offense. Your defense has already won you games, and I think that will be able to do something good for you later on in the year. If you can pick up a little bit more safety at running back and at the quarterback position, I think you can definitely run over a lot of teams in the playoffs. Honestly, right now, if there is a huge playoff run of any of these top 5 teams, I think you will probably be able to win them by that time. And this is strictly speaking because of the week 15 and 16. But at number 1, and I think this is a clear cut above everyone else, I would say it's Elias Hoban. Both of his picks, Percy Harvin and Matt Ryan, were great picks and have definitely exceeded expectations. He's got safety at Arian Foster, and that helps shore up a lot of his question marks at wide receiver. But the biggest question for him is, when it comes to playoffs in week 15 and 16, I guess Matt Ryan and Arian Foster are both on 5-0 teams. If they have nothing to play for by week 15 and 16, will they actually be playing the amount of times that they should be playing? And will they actually be giving the stats they would normally do in kind of a very competitive situation as it is so far and this early in the season? I think if they aren't playing at a competitive rate, your production out of them will drop dramatically. And that's something I think you should really be concerned about, and you should really prepare, or just hope that they start losing a lot of games. Usually when it comes to teams with really high and strong records, they start resting people in the last few weeks. Be aware, Elias. I definitely recommend that. Alright, so let's go into next week. The game of the week I have is number 5, Paul versus number 3, John, with John being a 10.3 favorite. This could be a defining game for Paul, as he could snatch a lead in the power rankings and become the leader of his division if Ashton loses to me. Another big game, I think, is Stephon versus Elias, with Elias as a 12-point favorite. I don't want to go against number 1 Elias, as I have done all year, but I really think that Stephon has some good chances. If Elias doesn't get a good game out of a couple of his players, most notably Foster and Matt Ryan, well then I think that leaves the door wide open for Stephon. I'm playing Ashton in a divisional rematch, and Ashton's a 33.7-point favorite, but I will comment on this. Ashton, you have been projected to be in the 120s every week since week 1, and you've only done that once, and that was in week 1, and you've only passed 100 points one other time aside from that. I'm not trying to knock you at all, but I think that being projected in 120s that many times in a row is a little overrated, to say the least, and I think my team is a little bit better than what people think. Lion is in a must-win game against Ramnik, and Lion is currently a 32.2-point favorite. This is not only a big thing because Ramnik hasn't won yet, but if Lion loses this game, that pretty much defines the fact that he's going to have to play for a wild card spot, because I think John will just be too far ahead by this late in the season. I think if that's the case, you may want to be careful about that. Anyways, the next matchup is Karan versus Kashit, with Karan being a surprising 11-point favorite. I wish you good luck, Karan, and I fucking hate Kashit because he thinks that LaRod Stevens Howling, who I've never even heard of that guy's name, is better than Fred Jackson of Buffalo. I wish that you die, and if you do well with that pick, I wish you die a horrible, horrible death, and get upset. And even if you do win, I hope it's terrible, because, oh yeah, India won, didn't they? Oh no, but they didn't even get into the semis of the World Cup, because, oh yeah, they're not that great. Okay, shit. Anyways, and the last one, I would say Ashwin versus Herman, with 21 points favoring Ashwin. However, I think if Herman is able to get Aaron Hernandez back and Chris Johnson, he did his part. He got the 12.2 points, which is a lot better than he's done all year. this game could be surprisingly competitive. That being said, Ashwin, you have Stephen Ridley, who has been a boss all year. With that, that's the wrap up for this week, and good luck to everyone.